So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I am going to introduce someone that I've connected with on TikTok before, and it's been a little while that I've been following her. She's in Florida, just like me, just in a different part. So she has actually and talks a lot on TikTok about different scholarships and different things that kids in Florida need to know and how she's actually helping kids get scholarships, which is really awesome. So kind of my whole goal today is one to get to know you like what you do, but also to kind of share with kids or parents listening a little bit about some resources that they can use to be able to get them more money for college, which obviously is very similar to what I do. I just do a lot of test prep with it. So yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. I'm Chris Keefe. I'm the Florida School Mom on TikTok. I'm on here as Florida School Mom too, but I think I have probably like 10 followers. I don't I don't really cross post on here enough.
Yeah.
So basically I just talk a lot about some outside the box things that you can do as a student in Florida schools, like taking CLEP exams, stuff like that, that can be very beneficial. And also how to get a lot of not just Bright Futures, but outside scholarships as well in Florida.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So what is like I guess we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but what is like your main motivation or what kind of brought you into this?
So my main motivation is really just to get information out there about what's available to students in Florida because so much of it is being gatekept by guidance
Mhm.
counselors. At times they may not know about all of these available resources, but a lot of times they do know, and they just want to gatekeep it because they want butts and seats, 7 periods a day. And they will give incomplete information, they will give misinformation. So my goal is to really give kids receipts to say like, hey, here are the FLDOE statutes. If the school is refusing to follow them, go to the district. If the district won't follow them, go to the FLDOE. I've only had that happen once.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the district will then school the guidance at the school, and they won't be able to get away with it anymore, at least for that particular student. But
Yeah.
I want to get this more widespread to where kids know what they are entitled to,
Hmm.
so that they are not being kept out of things that by law they are entitled to.
Yeah. Yeah, which is important. And I think every kid has such like a different educational experience, depending on the county, depending even on like the guidance counselor's like load that's on them because like I know some good ones. Everybody's had kind of mixed experiences, and then just some of the times there's a few at least in my county that I do know and work really hard, but they are so bogged down with dealing with other stuff that's not like colleges and stuff like that.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think it's just important that we be able to better like help parents and students like understand their options because there's so many out there. There's so much dang money. And I want these kids to like not sleep on it, which is why I do test prep, which is why like I've started like a $99 like test prep, which isn't a big group, but it's still like more accessible for most versus like private tutoring and stuff like that too. So what is what's your like craziest like success story? I think you had one that you mentioned yesterday.
Okay, so what the baby daddy scholarship, which is I'm always saying like apply to anything
Yeah.
which you can answer honestly, even if it's not the answer
Hmm.
you think they're looking for. So in this case, it was one of the kids from my older daughter's friend group.
Hmm.
Mostly that's how I started doing this was I was just helping her friends from JROTC. And it was one
Yeah.
of the kids from that group, and he is at UCF. So we were going through the UCF in-house scholarship bank, which is
Hmm.
access to opportunities. And so we're on A2O and we're going through each individual one. And one of them was like, it's one of those where it's after you've already answered the general scholarship questions, it pops up like the all available. So we're going through all of those. And it said something like, do you have legal responsibility for your children under age 18
Hmm.
and put your custody order here if you do?
Yeah.
Obviously, he doesn't have kids. So, like, we checked off no, and the submit button came up, which means he could actually submit it. Sometimes you check off no and it won't let you submit. Okay,
Yeah.
well. But in that case, he was able to answer it honestly and hit submit. He won. He won $5,000 a year until
Which
he
is
graduates
which
because
is
it was the
wild.
second. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we call it his baby daddy scholarship. It was the secondary criteria on the scholarship. If no appropriate candidates were found for the primary criteria, which was, baby mommy, baby daddy thing,
Yeah.
then they would default to a secondary criteria, which was like financial need or something, which was strange because he wasn't even, I wouldn't have even thought of him as like, meeting that criteria, but he did. I thought it was a
Hmm.
mistake when he won, but no, they said clearly it was not. He did the post acceptance, got the money, and he's going to get $5,000 a year until he graduates.
Which is amazing. Like, and that helps so much. And a lot of this adds up. And that's what people don't think about is like, yeah, that's $5,000, which no, doesn't cover it all. But if you stack it with like you've got Bright Future, you've got
Yeah.
other scholarships, like that really does stack. I mean, like you have to think about it as a holistic perspective, not just a like one time off thing. And then so tell me a little bit about like if let's say you had a 10th grader that comes to you and they're like ahead, they're trying to get on the ball or they're going to be a junior maybe this summer. What is like the steps that the parents need to know and start thinking about in regards to scholarships? Like when's kind of the special window, I should say?
I mean, it could be any time. Honestly, it's
Hmm.
never too late, but
Yeah.
it's good to plan early. So if you
Hmm.
have a 10th grader, my number one thing is test scores.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a 10th grader, they could still qualify for national merit.
Yep.
So I would be having that kid study for PSAT 11 like it was their job. And
Hmm.
I would make sure my kid was signed up for PSAT 11. We went through something with our school this year where they weren't offering it to 11th graders because they were convinced that PSAT 10 was for national merit. And no amount of showing them that it was PSAT 11 was
That
making a
stings.
difference. We had to go to
Yeah.
the district to get it offered to 11th graders, and only 15 of them took it because it was never put out there that this is for national merit.
Yeah.
And our
Which is
school's
not
not
okay.
small.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
it
you
was
said you're in a big district too, so it's not like it's a tiny school.
I'm pretty
But
sure the other schools in the district did not have this issue. I think it was just exclusive to our school, but it was because it was coming from the top down that they really thought it was 10th grade PSAT because that's the one that's given to all students. We
hmm.
kept trying to tell them, it was my neighbor and I went to talk to them saying, no, it's 11th grade PSAT that's for national merit. No amount of showing them was making a difference. We had to go to the district to get it
Yeah.
offered to 11th graders. So
Yeah.
make sure first of all that your school knows that this has to be offered to 11th graders, and make sure your kid is signed up. It's not the free one that every kid takes. It's the one you actually have to pay for. I think it's only like $15, but make sure your kid is signed up.
And it's interesting. Our district pays for and it's the correct one. Our district does pay for it, but I think it's by
Oh, that's good.
district. It is great. Yeah, which is really interesting. They make all the 10th graders take it, and
Nice.
then the juniors can elect. I believe it's paid for. I have to clarify just to make sense, make sure. But yeah, and it stinks. Like I have a kid, and I shared a little bit about it on social media, like lightly to protect his privacy. But he went from a 1320 to 1520 on his SAT score, which is fantastic. And that's not
Yeah.
every kid. Like that does take a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on the same time, he was kicking himself. He was sitting across from me because he's an in-person kid. And he's like, I did not take the PSAT because I thought I didn't need it. And it wasn't like, I don't know like what happened or the disconnect or anything like that. But he was like kind of beating himself up. He's like, I could have qualified. I said, yeah, you could have qualified. And I said, there's nothing you can do at that point, but you share with your other friends that might be a year younger than you to like lock in. And the
Yes.
nice thing with the PSAT is like the prep you do on the PSAT, it's not a perfect lineup for the SAT, but it's dang close. So it's not a big jump. The math is a little jump, but the ELA is pretty dang similar. So a lot of those skills are going to just transcribe into your SAT test prep anyway. So it's not a wash at all, is what I tell
No.
people. That and it
No.
rolls. It really does. Math, you have to work a little bit more on the harder stuff, which is why I talk about I have a College Panda book. It is, I think, like $20 on Amazon. It's
Oh, it's
fantastic.
awesome.
That one is fantastic.
I love
Like
it. Yeah.
I finally I'll link it below. I finally got smart and made an affiliate link for it, but I've like recommended it so much because like and all my teachers use it because it's actually hard SAT math. And it's inexpensive. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about how you're like finding these scholarships for kids and it was interesting what you shared with me yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean, this surprises people when I say it, but I don't use the big databases like the scholarships.com or is it like
Mm-hmm.
Bold or
I don't
Owl, or
know.
I don't know what they're called. Anyways, I don't use those. I've
Mm,
never had luck with any of those.
interesting.
I literally use ChatGPT. And I know it sounds wild, but if you just keep putting in prompts and like don't just put one in and go, I didn't find anything.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Melbourne is, the big town near me. So I would be like, scholarships, Melbourne, Florida, scholarships for high schoolers, Melbourne, Florida, scholarships for college students, Melbourne, Florida. And they get specific scholarships for STEM, scholarships for women in STEM, scholarships for hospitality, Melbourne, Florida. Just keep putting in your local area. And if you're not finding anything because you live in a more rural area, branch out. Look at the next county, look at the next big town. Scholarships for UCF students, Melbourne, Florida, scholarships
Hmm.
for UF students, like just keep searching. And
Yeah.
And different
That's
searches
cool.
bring up different things too.
Yeah. No, that's
Um,
awesome. I'm a big AI fan. We can kind of play around with it real quick for like students near me. I'll share my screen if that works for you.
yeah, that's
I
great.
have to,
And
yeah, go
open
ahead.
a
Sorry.
spreadsheet as well. Like I just got a free scholarship spreadsheet online. Like I think I found it on Reddit or something.
Yeah.
I downloaded the blank for that. And then every time I'm adding a kid, because I have all of the older kids and now some of the younger kids each have their own Google
Mm-hmm.
sheet with their name on it that I share to them. And then when I find scholarships, I put it on there and I can see if they're working on it. Like I can see if it's like in progress. I can see if they've checked it off, if it's complete, and I will check
Yeah.
and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And the other thing too, and this ties into your 10th grader question,
Mm-hmm.
recommendations. You have
Mm-hmm.
got to get recommendations and don't be the kid that's waiting till the last day of school, please.
No.
Like, especially even if you're dual enrolled, you can ask your dual enrollment professors. You can ask your JROTC colonel. And please do. You can ask
Yeah.
your sports coaches, your boss, your teachers who like you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure you've got three active recommendations that are dated within a year at any given time.
No, that's really helpful to know. And most kids get nervous about it. I mean, I work with teenagers all the time,
No.
but a lot of adults don't mind. Like we really don't. We're honored to. And whenever I've been asked, and I even told the kids that I work one-on-one with for a while, I'm like, and they're applying for jobs. I'm like, please use my name. Like, as long
Yeah.
as you're going to do a good job, obviously. But I tell kids, I'm like, they get so worked up about it. I said, no, like you're not bothering the adult. They're normally happy to do that and help you out. But a lot of kids kind of, overthink it in their brain. Yeah, as long as you're not doing it on the last day of school, then of course, like you're gonna
Yeah, please
be,
don't do that.
yeah,
Please
don't do
don't.
that. I mean, everybody's kind of like stressed on the last day of school, but in general, or shoot them an email, like go from there. So yeah, let me play around with. It would be kind of fun. I'm gonna do
And
my
get them
area.
updated too. Get them updated. Like my daughter will still ask her JROTC colonel to update the date every year
Oh,
so that
that's
she can
awesome.
continue to use that. He's awesome. Like he, wants the best for the kids. So, and he has
Yeah.
every year updated it.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So if we go, I'm in Okaloosa County, so I can go Okaloosa County scholarships. What do you think?
That's a
Uh,
good start. That's a good start. And the
for
foundation will come up first typically. And then you
yeah,
can, if it just gives suggestions to look at the Rotary Club or whatever, try a different search.
yeah. I know a lot of AI is prompting. I'm big into AI. I
Same.
gotta provide more content on it.
Same.
Okay, so yeah, the foundation, take
Yeah.
stock, which yeah, I'm aware of. Superintendent covers. Oh, that's cool. Three winners, yeah, through the chamber. Okaloosa County. Yeah, I had no idea about these. These are cool. And it's like right in my area.
Another good one to do is 10 overlooked scholarships, Okaloosa County.
10 overlooked scholarships. Okaloosa County. This is awesome.
It'll show you the foundation again first, typically. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, you don't need, I technically have like the premium, like ChatGPT, because I use it for business, some stuff, but you can do it on the free, right?
oh, I don't have the premium one, so yeah.
Okay.
Is the premium one better? Like, maybe I should get it.
It's because we do a lot more on it. Although if you're I'm like Claude has kind of been my favorite lately. Oh, it's taken
Everyone's
over.
favorite. Everyone's favorite.
It can like it literally did a bunch of stuff for me earlier while I ate lunch. So I'm like, but that's beside the point. But no, this is really cool. So people can just use like the free version and yeah, that's
I didn't know if the
insane.
paid version might bring up more stuff. Now I'm wondering.
Now, yeah, that might be an interesting experience. Experiment, not experience. Yeah, those are really cool. That's
And
so
a lot of times,
simple.
yeah, it's simple and you find stuff that doesn't turn up on like even just like the school, like sometimes the school system
Yeah.
will put out, but I find at least in our county, a lot of times it has like dead links or like outdated stuff. So this brings up
Yeah.
like more recent stuff. And the other thing that I love to
Oh,
do,
that's cool. Yeah.
professional organizations. You're thinking like,
Hmm.
I'm a kid. Like, how would I be in a professional organization? I mean, sometimes you need to wait till senior year to join. Sometimes you don't. But
Yeah.
look at stuff under your major. And okay, say you're in
That's a
kind of
good
an
idea.
oversubscribed major, like I'm in Brevard, everyone's an engineer, right? So,
Hmm.
like, kind of the STEM organizations might have a lot of applicants for their scholarships. I
Yeah.
still say join for networking.
Hmm.
But say you want something that's a little less competitive, but you need some sort of entry into that organization. You can do a CTE, like
Yeah.
sometimes on FLVS.
Nice.
Her daughter did the
Yep.
hospitality CTE. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
a college student already, you can do a minor or a certificate in an area, especially if you go in with your AA and you have these extra credits, or you go in with APs and you have these extra credits. You can use the credits that you have available for like easier classes
Yeah.
matter, so that, like, say instead of just taking four random easy classes, you take four classes that add up to a hospitality certificate. Then you can
Awesome.
join the Central Florida Hospitality and Lodging Association or the
Mm-hmm.
Restaurant Association. Sometimes it costs like $20, $25 for a student membership.
It's not expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to spend a little money to make money sometimes, but that gives you access to their scholarship databases.
That's
And
awesome.
because it's only for members, it's very limited typically in terms of the number of people who will apply for those.
Yeah.
So, my
That
daughter is a member of Women in GIS, Women in Automotive, Central Florida Hospitality and Lodging Association, like so many different ones that I sign her up for. And then I like put the scholarship bank on her
mm-hmm.
spreadsheet and be like, okay, now you need to apply for this.
That
Uh,
is wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I
Yeah.
find them, because the big ones, like, I mean, nothing against the big databases. Maybe it works for people, but it's just never worked for us. But
Mm-hmm.
yet all of the kids have their cost of attendance fully maxed by scholarships. And I'm not talking about kids, some of them don't even have bright futures. Some
And
do.
so it does, they don't have to like have 4.0s or anything. I
Oh
mean,
no.
technically, so they just have to be like they could be an average kid. They don't have to be a straight A student, and all that stuff. But I'm sure the letters of rec is probably, I would imagine, the more weight in the game
You know what's the most
ish.
weight in the game?
Is
Applying.
it? Sure. So they're like
Applying.
actually
Because
doing it.
it,
Hmm.
it sounds so basic, but you
Yeah,
are
but
100% not winning if you don't apply. And applying is the most weight here. We just went to like a scholarship dinner like a month ago for my older daughter, and
hmm
I forget the name of it. It was a local scholarship she had won. It was like $1,500 cash, by the way, which I do love those when they give them right to the kids.
hmm
Um, they had seven winners. They only had 13 applications. Yeah. You have better
So
than two
like,
who want to apply.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wild because, and I know a lot of these organizations like are happy like to give scholarship funds for
They
kids
want to.
too. They just need like a better marketing. And I mean, it's a big tax write-off for them and all that stuff too. And I mean, I'm sure they have like good honest motivation, but there's also like it benefits them financially too. So like there's kind of a double-edged sword, but it's just these kids need to know about it. And it's just not being talked about. It's not being publicized.
Or they think like I need a 4.0 and I need to be a
Mhm.
star football player and I need
Yeah.
to, be going to Harvard or whatever. That's not the case. Most of the
No.
kids at this thing, about half of them were going to the community college. A couple of them were nursing
Nice.
students at FAU.
Yeah.
My daughter goes to UCF. Like these aren't
hmm
kids who are like going to
Ivies.
Harvard, and getting a PhD or something. These are like normal, regular Brevard kids who applied.
That's awesome.
The difference between them and the kids that didn't get the money is they applied.
So, the question, and it's like kind of popping up in my head, and this might be for your daughter that's at UCF. So, is there a situation where a kid would get more money than they needed for college? So, how does that work? Are they just like rolling it in, or like I don't know. That might be a dumb question,
It's
but I
not
don't
dumb
know
at
how all
all.
that works.
It's not dumb at all. So what happens is, can you be over awarded over cost of attendance? Yes, there are ways to deal with
hmm
that too. In
Okay.
6 states in the United States, it is illegal to stop a kid from getting all of their funds back. So in 6 states in the United States, you cannot stop kids from getting all of the money that they get as scholarships. Florida, unfortunately, is not one of those 6 states.
Okay.
So, yes, you can be awarded over COA, but I think what you're talking about is once everything that you owe to the college is paid, like say
hmm
my daughter only has tuition to the college and she lives in off-campus housing, which is,
Yeah. hmm
um, but she is maxing out her COA, so she's getting the full 13,000 or whatever it is every semester. What
hmm
happens to, the tuition's only 3 grand, Bright Futures paid.
Yeah.
What happens to the remainder? That goes back to her as cash.
That's crazy.
So, and it's considered income. You do still get a
Yeah,
form
I
for it.
figured you'd have to write off like a 1099 and all
You
that
do.
stuff too. Yeah,
Or I don't know what the form is. They give you the form on the UCF webpage. I'm sure all the colleges do. But it's
yeah.
great because it's income, right? It's earned income. You could do
Mm-hmm.
it with IRA. So
That's
it
cool.
comes back to you as cash, and you can use that to pay your rent and your living
hmm
expenses. Now,
Nice.
if you have Florida prepaid and you are
Mm,
already meeting it all by scholarship, you don't want prepaid in there because it's just going to displace some of that money. So
okay.
basically, you're just giving away free money. So what do? Prepaid lands in your account every semester. I think it must be based on your social or something because we
Okay.
never have put it in there, but it shows up every semester. We have to
hmm
manually remove it.
Interesting. Okay.
So we just make sure that it doesn't, like, we don't use her prepaid because we don't need to use her prepaid.
Mm,
Um, Now, what can you do if you're awarded over the cost of attendance fall and spring? You can move that money into the summer. So
okay.
you can, if it's a check that's in hand and it has, your name and UCF on it, and you have to bring it to
Hmm.
the bursar and have it added to your account, which is how most of them are,
Yeah.
you can wait 90 days usually on that check and bring it so that it ends up in the summer, or you can write summer only, or you can have the organization write summer only and have those funds applied into the summer.
Hmm.
So I just had a kid awarded a full scholarship to a school in Florida that they only give away four of these a year, and he looked it up, found it on ChatGPT, applied on his own,
That's
won.
fantastic.
I mean, huge win for this kid.
Okay.
But he's
Yeah.
also winning outside scholarships because he had applied for a bunch of those. So I
Hmm.
think what we're going to do once he exceeds COA is
Hmm.
just ask the organizations to stipulate summer only.
Nice.
And then what do? You take two courses in the summer, which is 6 credits.
Hmm.
You can have your Bright Futures pay for that, and then the
Yep.
cash will come back to you.
That's cool. So it's a little bit of some strategy game and some
Yeah.
consulting and all that stuff too. But I feel like it would also open up more opportunities. Like if a kid was really dead set on going private, which I do know some that are. And for me, I went public, but there's some cool private schools out there that would have been fun, and it wasn't an option for me financially. But yeah, so that would be that adds up fast, but it could open more doors to kids too, which is
It
nice.
could, the kids who are like dying for you Miami or whatever, if they're willing.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
one, they have to be. I mean, U Miami doesn't play on their
No.
like they've got high bars there.
They have high bars and they have high tuition. So
It's
high
both.
tuition.
They've got them both.
So if like you're dying for U Miami and you're not like of financial need or not getting like the big merit scholarships, then maybe you could like get enough. You probably could get enough merit scholarships to pay for it. It would just make me
Yeah.
nervous that it wouldn't be if they're not renewable, like you're doing your first year and then you're like, ooh,
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but even like the smaller like Christian schools and stuff like that, because I know plenty of people that are interested in going to those that are obviously private, so that they can have like those options too. And I'm sure the
yes.
scholarships provide restrictions of like, can it be a faith-based school or, public
I've
or
never
whatever.
seen that. I've never seen them
Interesting.
saying it can't be. No, no.
Okay, so that's good to know because that's more what I hear is they're interested in maybe a faith-based school, and which are a little bit more expensive because some of them are not getting funds from the state. Just depends on the
Yeah.
college, and so that could open those opportunities. I mean, U Miami is one just hardest not to get into. Yeah, them and UF kind of actually compete. It's really interesting. They kind of toddle between like who's more competitive. But yeah, which is always kind of interesting. Do you see any of this like changing significantly in the next couple years? Like any big Florida things coming down the pipeline that's going to affect Bright Futures or affect the scholarships? I
I
I don't, but I don't know if you've seen
don't.
anything.
The only thing, Bright Futures tends to like the test scores move a little bit sometimes,
Yeah,
and I
they
think
do.
they come down by like 10 points or something, which is nice.
Yeah,
Or
they
maybe
did. The SAT
did.
they went down by 20 points, and then the
Oh,
ACT they went down by 1 point.
that's significant.
It is significant. Yeah, no, it definitely is. For the 75%, the 100% is still the same.
Yeah.
It's harder to get, but you gotta put the work in. That's what I tell the kids. I'm like, most of the kids are not gonna wake up and get 100% bright futures. Like that's just not standard. And if you're watching this and you're out of state, ACT for 100% bright futures, which is supposed to be 100% tuition. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's a good chunk of money. Is a 29 on your ACT and SAT, so 1330. So it's competitive. Like
Yeah.
it is. Like it's not
But
an
you can
average
super
score.
score.
You
You can definitely
can.
super
You
score.
can. Yeah, you'll just have to put some work in and probably take it more than once, but that's part of it. So we have a big homeschooling population in Florida.
Yes.
So do you have any thoughts there on scholarships? And does it work different? Like,
It's not different. And like
okay.
schools love homeschoolers. Like
They
I think,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
they don't a lot of homeschoolers think like, oh, I'm a homeschooler. I can't. First of all, yes, you can get bright futures as a homeschooler.
I do know that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
a lot of people
100%
don't.
you can do this. And you should. You do need to get
Hmm.
your hours put on your transcript. That is the only
Yep.
thing, that I keep emphasizing whenever a homeschooler contacts me is got to get those hours put
Yeah.
on. And you do that typically through your district, unless you're like
Hmm.
full-time FLVS, then they do it. But like
Yeah.
if you're like in an umbrella school and you're homeschooled, then you have to go through the district.
Yeah.
Or you're
Yeah.
just homeschooled, like Yeah.
And that I don't fully know, but we work a lot with homeschoolers. Like I have some teachers that their kids have graduated out of homeschool that work for me, and so they've kind of told me a little bit about the process and all that stuff too. But I mean, with the Step Up for Student Scholarship, that has grown homeschooling significantly in Florida, which has affected it. But yeah, I was just kind of curious if there's anything like different that kids need to know, or
Not really. I
no.
mean, they just need to know the same thing that all kids need to know, which is that there is 100% chance you're not getting it if you don't apply.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't, it's funny you said about recommendations carrying weight. Maybe they do in certain scholarships. Like, we're in kind of a military heavy area and all of
Same.
the kids to JROTC. So obviously, like anything that's based on like civilian military or any of the
Hmm.
military based scholarships, like, yes, they like to see your JROTC colonel has some good things to say about you, or whatever.
Yeah.
But in general, I think that the recommendations are basically just that like this kid shows up and does a good job. Like, I don't think anyone's looking that deeply into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you read the recommendations and you're like, ooh, you use ChatGPT. But I don't think
Hmm.
because you're still saying this is a good kid, right? I don't
Yeah,
think
you're
they're
still putting your
looking,
name on it.
yeah,
Yeah, which
they're
does
not
have
looking
some
that
weight.
deeply.
No.
I
Okay,
don't
that's
think
helpful to know.
they're just basically like, check, like, yes, you
Yeah.
met the recommendation requirement. You're a decent human being and you worked hard at school, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything that deep. I think it's more, were you involved in your community?
Hmm.
Are you articulate enough to write this, essay or to express yourself without clearly
Hmm.
using AI?
Yeah.
And do you have need that you can express? And need is something kids don't understand. They think
Hmm.
need means I need to be like living in a house without running water,
Yeah.
fully Pell eligible. No, need can
No.
be so many things.
Hmm.
If you have need to pay for college yourself and your parents make $300,000 a year, but they're barely making ends meet because of, I don't know, whatever, or they won't pay for your school,
You
you,
cool. You still have need. Like you
yes.
still, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're questioning it,
Hmm.
email the scholarship.
Yeah.
Email this. There's always something like contact us here. Email them and say, would I still be allowed to apply?
Yeah.
Is
It
it
can't
okay with
hurt.
you if I apply? I've never had them say like no to a kid when I've said do this. And
Yeah.
most of the time that sort of gets you on their radar too. They're like, oh, this kid emailed
Is
me.
proactive. And I'll tell you, like, even from test prep, if me or my team has a kid reach out, because we do sometimes have teens reach out or email us and stuff, like, and most adults are like this, we will drop like a lot of things to help this kid. Like that means the kid's being proactive and all that stuff. And that's important to highlight. Like need looks different for everyone. Like you don't have to be qualified for like the low income stuff. You
Right.
don't have to have struggle with food scarcity or live in a really tiny apartment. Like for me, like, and I share this a little bit, and I know my parents would be comfortable with me sharing it now, but when I graduated from high school, my parents were severely affected by the real estate crash because they had a lot
Hmm.
invested, like a lot. And so, like, there was things like we looked like we were fine and we weren't faking it, but like we were not like rolling it in at all. And so there's things that I wish like I would have known to like help pay for school too. And so like but we were not like living, in a tiny shack or tent or anything like that. So that's a good way to
Right.
put it. Like, but we still had need. Like, college is expensive. And I just don't like kids graduating with that much debt if it's avoidable. It's a really rough way to start out in life.
It's a no for me. Like if you
Yeah,
have to take out debt, you cannot afford it. And
it's a hard no. Yeah.
it's a hard no, more
Mm-hmm.
so because so many changes have happened with student loans in the recent past.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you ever look at r/student loans on Reddit, but if you don't, you should.
I
It's
should. Yeah, I haven't.
horrifying. Like
Maybe I
on the
should
daily,
have.
there
Yeah,
are people talking about self-deleting because of these student loans. It's not
it's
like an occasion.
heartbreaking.
It's
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
that
It's
is
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't have to be that way. Like it just doesn't. Yeah. And I cannot imagine like being like 22 and graduating with like two to $300,000 in debt and like because the thing is like people are like, oh, you have loans for like a house. I'm like, yes, but a house typically appreciates student loans technically do not appreciate like it's very kind of it's rare and so you really have to think through it and if you really want to be a nurse but you can't afford the state school and maybe the scholarships don't like work out there's tons of community colleges where you can live cheaply and like pay for it so I don't know there's just a lot of options out there and it just breaks my heart for a kid to graduate with that much debt like it's I that would be very hard me and my husband were very thankful that we did not we very, very small amount, which is obviously paid off
Same,
now. Yeah.
tiny amount, but
Very tiny amount. And it would have been a totally different game changer because I have kids, like there's people my age, in my 30s that are still struggling to pay off student loans and it
oh,
sucks. And
senior
I know,
citizens are
yeah,
like a fast growing portion of people who are struggling with student loans. Senior
yeah.
citizens. It's
Yeah,
just,
and it's heartbreaking and it just doesn't make sense. Like it's better to work slowly through school if you have to, or at least access a bunch of scholarships. But yeah, so financial literacy is everything. It's very important.
it is. And
But
it's hard
yeah,
to see your friends like going off to these big name schools if you can't, and
yeah,
but I think what we have to be clear on is you don't know their situation. You don't know that they're not taking out $90,000 a year in private loans to do
correct.
that.
Hmm.
And because people aren't going to talk about that when they have
No,
a bed
no.
party. Um,
Mhm.
and get the education you need, not the education you want.
Yeah,
It's really, we can't do this anymore, and we can't do this to kids anymore. And
no.
so yeah, that's a lot of reason I'm like, go get scholarships. But I'm not saying like go get scholarships so you can go to a $90,000 a year school. I'm saying go get scholarships so you can get through school without debt. And
Without that, yeah,
you know,
and graduate on the stronger side because most like fresh graduates, they're not going to be getting high paying jobs, and that's okay. Even if you have a really competitive like job, and my spouse is a software engineer, computer coder, like by trade, all this stuff, and like even him when he like got out of college and he had internships and stuff, he was thinking like, oh, I'm going to get at least 80, $90,000, blah 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 blah. No, that was not his first year at all. And I was teaching public school at the same time, and we had a dang close the same salary. So, like, even if you're going for that, and now he, beats a teacher salary and all that stuff too, but like, the kids have to understand, like, you may be going towards a high paid major, but most people do not graduate and get these huge offers. Like, it just is,
right.
it doesn't happen. Like, you have to work your way up. Like, it's
And
so,
especially with us really not knowing
mhm,
where AI is going,
correct.
yes, I still think you should go to college. And yes, I still think
Hmm.
that you should, major even in some of the STEM fields. Obviously, my kid's majoring in a STEM field,
Yeah.
but I don't think you should take out a dime's worth of debt. And then I always get these people on TikTok, well, what about med school? What about PA school? What about it? It doesn't change anything for me. Either
Yeah.
join the military, join the National Health Service or whatever it's called, the one where you get paid to go work in a rural area, or don't.
Yeah.
And that might sound horrible and elitist or whatever, but it's not. We will still have doctors, we will still have dentists. It may not be you, but it's better
Yeah.
than blowing your life up.
It really is. And it's interesting. I have a friend who is a doctor, married a doctor, and people are like, oh, they're both doctors. She's an anesthesiologist, and she worked her tail off to get there, and they now have two kids, and they're like, oh, they're rolling it in. I said, both of them are still paying down their loans. I said, and they will, and now they have two kids, and they're very conscientious and wise and all that stuff too, but like they went to private medical school, so I do know like it's going to be an uphill swim, and it's just part of it and it's hard. And so being like a doctor doesn't mean like you're going to be rolling it in, especially if you're graduating with tons of loans. Maybe when you're in your 50s, like if you graduate with loans as a doctor, like you worked your
Yeah,
tail off. But yeah, and especially law school too. That is a big one that yeah, yeah,
law
I
school to
know.
me is don't even like right now I'm steering kids toward like, okay, if you're talking about majoring in poli sci to go to law school, poli sci is not in and of itself employable.
Yeah.
What could you double major in that is employable?
Hmm.
Because if you get to 3 years from now and you see where this is trending, and where this is trending is a lot of the lower level associate stuff is going to be done by AI.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
there will always be a need for lawyers. There is not always going to be a need for nearly the number of lawyers we produce. And
Correct.
so I was just talking to somebody last night who works, has a significant position at a major law school and said,
Hmm.
go Ivy or go free. And I'm like, that's exactly what I think too. Not even the T14s. Like no way, no how. First of all, I wouldn't go to law school at all. But second of
No,
all, if
I
I
would
were
be a
to,
terrible lawyer, but that's
I would too.
I was like that was all the cases to be totally honest. But
There's so many broke lawyers. Like,
mhm.
I will
I
say
ran.
somebody very close to me in my family is a lawyer, and she is the only person in her law school friend group who did not file for bankruptcy. So
That's
like
heartbreaking.
it's
Yeah.
awful. And that's back when like AI wasn't a thing. So
Yeah, I know. I know my dad works closely with, and I can't share their names, but he works a lot with like legal stuff with Amazon. And one of the like big law firms he partners with, my dad's not a lawyer. He works behind the scenes with like AI and cybersecurity, and like it's wild the stories that he shares with me. And like the partners and stuff are doing well, But like the lower level ones, no, but the partners are pulling 120 plus hours a week to
Yes.
get there. Yeah. So it's not like they're like, oh, just like a lofty job. Like they're busting their butts.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
think, oh, I'm going to make all this money as a lower level associate. Okay, maybe you'll get big law and maybe you will. Number
maybe
one,
you
you pay
will.
a lot of taxes. Number
Uh-huh.
two, it
Hmm.
costs a lot to live wherever those are, New York City,
Correct.
Boston, wherever they are,
Hmm.
Chicago. And number three, you're going to be out of your mind depressed and trying to treat yourself because you are so depressed, you know. And so the
Work-life
idea
balance.
that you're paying back two, $300,000 in loans easily, life happens.
Yeah, it does.
Life happens. Like, and you're giving up time value of money in those years too.
Hmm.
Like those 3 years are huge compounding years when you're
They
getting out of
are.
school. Like you could have gone and worked a minimum wage job and lived at
Job.
home and done a Roth IRA and literally ended up so far ahead of where you're going to be. Like it's just, and to take out debt on top of that, it's like
It's
insult to
just,
injury.
yeah, it is. And so I think there needs to be more people vocal. And I think if you are hearing this and you are like someone who is maybe in their 40s and their 50s and you graduated or dealing with a ton of debt, I cannot recommend enough people coming out and be like, yeah, like if
Make
you're stuck in the,
content.
yes, make content because the best thing
Please.
you can do, like, yes, it's not ideal what you're going through, but share it with these kids that need to know this so that they don't fall for this. And like, yes, what you going through or went through is really tough with you having that much debt, but share it with the kids so they don't repeat it. Because that's when I like, and this is what I tell people, I'm like, you may be going through a crappy situation, but you're gonna make it more crappy if one, you don't learn anything from it, and two, you do not help someone else avoid it. So that's kind of my big takeaway is like, let's remove that curtain. Let's help out these kids as much as we can. And kids, and even in their 20s, like, gosh, sometimes I wish I can go back and yell at my 22-year-old self, like us all. Uh, but yeah, and I think it's all of us. So it would be nice if like people come out and very authentically. And I see it some on TikTok, to be honest, where some people are like, I'm paying down my debt, ish. And
There's one that I see
yeah,
pretty
I've seen
regularly,
one
and
or two.
she's
Yeah,
fantastic. But then I'll see people pop on, and I'm like, yes, someone's doing it. And then 3 days later, they take everything down. And it's
yeah.
like, I get that it's embarrassing. Maybe your family said, hey, we don't talk about money publicly like that or whatever. But come on, please. If you're going
But
through this, please share.
please share because you don't know how much you can impact someone's life. Like,
Yes.
and that's one of the key things. Yeah, and that is a blessing. And I know you've probably gotten messages before. I've gotten messages before that are not my public reviews of stuff that I've posted online has like significantly helped kids and like
Yes.
or adult, and that is the best part, like hands down. And that's what matters. But
It is. It is. I've learned from
yeah.
you not to take out debt, so I know I can't do that. And how do I get
Mm-hmm.
scholarships? And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Like, yeah.
And yeah, there was one in particular I'm thinking of who was taking out a bunch of debt because she thought she had to go from her community college. This was an out-of-state kid who contacted me. I didn't know
Yeah.
a lot about the area, but I'm like, look, I know that particular school. It's not even a good school. Why are you taking out debt to go there? And she's like, well, that's where my community college told me to go. And I'm like, no, honey, go to
No,
public college. You
you
can
don't
work
have
your
to
way
do
through.
that. Yeah.
Yes. So she's not
You're
taking out debt, and she actually got a little
good.
scholarship from the public college. And
Good.
yeah,
Good.
I get rude comments a lot too, like you're in Florida, you're so out of touch. We don't have stuff like this here. Oh, I'm sure you still have CLEP exams.
Look, ChatGPT, now we learned how you type in where you're at in the location, and I'm sure something will come up because Florida is different. Florida is Florida, but tons of other states have these opportunities too. So
They
like
do.
try. Like that's the big thing. It's like don't be like, oh, it's just Florida. I'm like, no, there's other options out there.
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
do have to wrap up, but kind of well, one, I want to, as I'm pulling up my hair, it's making me crazy. One thing I want to address, and we talked about because I'm going to get asked, I will link your TikTok account, but you are currently not taking paid
I
work.
don't.
Yes, so don't ask. Maybe she might change her mind because she would be you'd be fantastic at it. But currently she's not taking paid consulting. But I will link your TikTok. So maybe I don't know. I'm not monetized yet on TikTok because I post a little bit more on Instagram. That's where my more day-to-day stuff is. Um,
I have an
but
Instagram. I think I have like 10 followers on
Oh,
there. Like
see,
I'm
that's
not
where
good
we're
at
the
it.
opposite. Like Instagram is like all day with not all day, but like I have so many like AI mini chat things in there. That's where I crank it. TikTok, I'm working on it. But that being said, so I'll link your TikTok below. And then we talked about like using ChatGPT regardless.
Yes.
But yeah, any last minute takeaways that like every kid parent should know before
Apply. always be applying. Like if I
Yeah.
ask you right now what scholarship you're applying for, you should be able to pull up your spreadsheet and show me. It is a
Perfect.
year-round thing. It is not a one-day thing or a beginning of the year or end of the year thing. At any given time, you could be applying for something, and you should be. You should be able to tell me what you're applying for if I ask you.
Yeah. Awesome. No. Well, I appreciate your time and yeah, so thank you. And I know this is going to help some kids. I'm really excited.
Me too.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.